Next topic is Java utility classes. So here we are going to look into a few utility classes. Since we have looked into properties class a bit in our previous presentation, we're going to mostly focus on date and calendar classes. Let's talk about date class first. If you take a look at the Java documentation of date class, you will see lots of methods have been deprecated, okay, from JDK 1.1. However, there are a few methods that are still there. So let's actually go to this link. This is JDK 7, but so again, this is the date class, and you will see, let's see, methods. Yeah, so you see lots of methods are deprecated, and there are a few methods are still there, but lots of these methods have been deprecated from JDK 1.1. Okay, and I'll explain why that is the case. So overview of date class: methods and constructors that are not deprecated. So you know, the get time and set time, those two methods are still there, and constructors date and long time, those are still there. Okay, and so what is a date object? Meaning object from date class is for. So date object represents a specific instant in time with millisecond precision, and that millisecond is from the Greenwich Mean Time. So 1970 January 1st and 0. Okay, time 0. Okay, so it's actually milliseconds from this particular time, Greenwich Mean Time. So it represents a compact form of maintaining date and time value. So in fact, it's a long value. Okay, so it's pretty compact. So later on, you will see why date object is in fact efficient way of passing time information. Okay, in your application, because it's very compact. You know, the size of long. Okay, but later on, you will see calendar object is very large. So you do not want to pass around calendar object because that is very a large object. Okay, so difference between date and calendar class is that date object does not maintain time zone and locale information, while calendar object does. Okay, so that is what date object is all about. So when do you want to use date class? Meaning, when do you want to create an object, date object from date class? Use it when you need to pass a timestamp data efficiently between different parts of your software, meaning your application. Okay, so when you need to pass around timestamp data, if you're using data object, that is only the size of long. But if you are using calendar object, then it's again huge. Later on, when you need to display the actual time zone and locale based time information, you want to convert it into calendar object. Okay, so calendar object, as you will see later on, has information about the time zone and locale as well. Alright, so let's take a look at the exercise 1. So date class. So here we are going to build and run the date. So let me just close all this guy. Class. So open the project and utility classes. That means calendar. Okay, so let's run date project. When you run the date project, it will just display current date and time. And so it's basically displaying the long value in the form of the millisecond from Greenwich time, and then we are actually displaying it in the form of calendar information. So basically, it basically display the based on my time zone, okay, and the locale. My locale is English. Okay, so in your case, it will display based on whatever locale you are located. Okay, so if you are in Spanish-speaking region, then it might be displaying in Spanish. Okay, and it will display the correct time for you. So in my case, because I'm EDT, is 11:49. It could be different. Okay, and it took 214 milliseconds. We actually compute the duration of doing something. So that is the date. If you take a look at the code, first we create a data object. So when you create a data object, it will use the current time from this. It will return the. Let me just slow down a bit. It will return data object which captures the milliseconds from this time. Okay. And now when you call a toString method of data object, okay, it will in fact convert it into calendar object internally. Okay. And it will actually use a locale, time zone, and locale, and then it will display in the form of day of the month, and Monday or Tuesday, and then this, and this format. So this is the default format it's actually using. Okay, and then we create another data object, and then we're basically computing the duration. We are subtracting data 2 get time. We are subtracting the first one from the next one, the second one, and then we display just elapsed time. So in my case, elapsed time is 214 milliseconds. Okay, so pretty straightforward. Let's see. Yeah, so I'm going to give you guys about 10 minutes, 8 minutes to try this exercise. Next is calendar and Gregorian calendar classes. So calendar is an abstract base class. It's an abstract base class. We haven't learned the concept of abstract class yet, but you can think of abstract class as a class that will be extended by another class. Okay, and so it's an abstract base class for converting a moment in time, the data object, to a set of integer values such as year, month, day, and hour, and it has and so on. So the concrete class that extend this calendar class, meaning child class of this calendar class, is the one that actually has this information. So let me just read this one. Subclasses of calendar interpret a timestamp of data object, meaning that long value from Greenwich time, according to the rules of specific calendar system. And JDK comes with one concrete calendar system, which is the child class of this calendar. That is called the Gregorian calendar class. So Gregorian calendar converts the moment in time, meaning the data object, to a particular year, month, day, and hour, and minute, and second, considering these factors: time zone and daylight savings time, and also when the older Julian calendar switched to Gregorian calendar. Okay, so but what's important is basically time zone and daylight savings begins. Time zone, and in fact later on it also includes the locale as well. So Gregorian calendar class versus date. So Gregorian calendar class maintains many more information for calculating year, month, day, and hour, minute, considering time zone, daylight saving time, and locale. And so because Gregorian calendar object maintains all this information, is many tens of times larger than date object. Okay, so that's the reason whenever you need to pass around the time, you want to pass it as a data object rather than Gregorian calendar object, because Gregorian calendar object is big. Now, JDK comes with this Gregorian calendar class. However, there could be other classes that extends this calendar abstract class. And so there could be other third-party implementations of calendar classes, such as Chinese calendar, Hebrew calendar, Buddhist calendar, and Islamic calendar, and things like that. Okay, and as I said before, JDK comes with only a single calendar, Gregorian calendar class. So the way you are going to create the calendar object is basically calendar and get instance method. You can see get instance is the static method of calendar class, right? So in fact, this is what is called the factory design pattern. So you are creating object instance. So typically the way we have learned so far for creating object instance is using a new keyword, right? Okay. But you can also create the object instance by calling some method. Okay, so in this case, that is an example. When the get instance method of calendar, the class is invoked, it will create internally. Internally, it will use new command or something like that, and then it will return the object. So this is the what is called the factory pattern. Just to give you a sense of what the factory pattern is for, is that if you want to manage the creation of objects, maybe you want to actually create the number of objects initially, and you have those objects in a pool, and whenever get instance is called, you're going to just kind of give that object, so that you're basically saving the time of creation and destroying object. Okay, so that's actually one use case where you are using factory pattern like this. Anyway, so here calendar, the class have a get instance static method, and you get the calendar object. So this calendar object produce all the time field values needed to implement date and time formatting for a particular language and calendar system. Okay, so it knows your locale as well as it knows your the time zone and all that stuff. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at the exercise 2. I'm looking at utility classes. So calendar. So here we are going to build and run the calendar application. So let's run the calendar application. So here we are going to run this guy, and it displays current date and time is Java till Gregorian calendar, and display month of the field is August, and month field of French is out, and the hour of the day is 12, and the day of the month is 13. So it's this is actually hour of the day and day of the month. Okay, so August 13, right? Today is August 13. Yeah, that's correct. Hour of the day is 12. Yeah, that's correct. And calendar day of the year, so is 225th day, and day of the month, day of the week is actually today is the Wednesday. So this is actually it's starting from 0. That's why it's 2, and date is 13, and hour is 0, and the month is 7th. Oh, this is, yeah, so this is August. So this is all starting from 0 here, index. Okay, so that's the result, and let's see the code. Okay, so if you see the code, we create the calendar object. Okay, it's actually returning Gregorian calendar object. Okay, and so we are basically converting this calendar into string. So that's what you're actually seeing all this. You can see it is a lot of information, right? Yeah, it's lots of information is maintained in the calendar object. Okay, and then we want to display name of the month field in default locale. So I'm actually using the default locale. Okay, in my case it's English, so it will display December. However, if you want to use a French locale, then you can actually pass the locale French. Okay, so that's why it's displaying. I mean, right now it's actually displaying in August. I captured this one in December. So so right now is in August, and this is a French version of it. Okay, you can certainly change your the locale if you're taking this course from the Spain. You might want to change this one to Spanish, and you are going to see Spanish version of August. And then we are just displaying the hour of the day, hour of the month, and all that stuff. Again, this information will be based on your time zone. Okay. All right, and the display and yeah, if you take a look at the Java documentation of calendar, okay. Yeah, so these are these are the fields, the date, day of the month, and all that stuff. These are the static field. Okay. Let's see. We are supposed to do exercise just 2. Okay. Oh, okay. So. Why don't I actually talk about conversion between calendar and date as well? Then I'm going to give you guys enough time to do the exercise because lunchtime is coming up. So conversion between calendar and date. Okay. So we have seen automatic conversion from date to calendar when you actually call the toString method. In fact, when you're actually trying to print out the data object, it will automatically convert to calendar. In fact, if you take a look at the code, so let me just so this is date, right? So if you take a look at the source code of date, let's take a look at the source code of the date. It does have a toString method. Okay, so yeah, we might as well just go to the toString method. So I'm going to actually go to source code. So this is the toString method of a date class. Okay, and it actually calls the normalize method, and then it returns the basically base calendar.date class. So if you take a look at normalize, again press F3, then you're going to, oops, I'm going to just click this guy and navigate and source. Yeah, it's actually Control Shift B, and this is normalize method, and it's basically returning calendar object. Okay, base calendar. Okay, base calendar is navigate abstract. Yeah, it extends the abstract calendar. Okay, so so internally it's actually converting to a calendar object to before display things out. Okay, so now you can convert between these two yourself. So calendar object can be created from data object, and data object can be created from calendar object. So this is, let's say you create data object from date class. You say new and date, and it will use your current time, okay, to create the data object. And then we have a calendar object. Okay, and you can set this calendar with your data object value. So you're gonna call set time, and you pass the data object. Okay, so this is the way that you are creating calendar object from a data object. Okay, in order to convert calendar object to data object, you just call get time, and then it will return data object. Okay, so again, the reason you might want to convert between these two is that whenever you need to pass your time information to another part of your application, you're actually passing as an argument of a method or something like that, instead of actually the passing calendar object, you might want to pass the data object, because data object is a lot more compact. That's all. Okay, so that's exercise 3. So in exercise 3, we are going to just convert between the two. So when we run is calendar date conversion project. Click this guy. So this guy, calendar date conversion. So when you run it, and it will return this result. Okay. Okay, this calendar of the month is UTC time zone and American. Yeah, so we are basically displaying the time based on different time zone. Okay, and then we're just displaying the data object. You can see when the calendar is used, it actually displays the different time value, because it considers the time zone. But this is actually the case for displaying data object after the conversion. So let's take a look at the code. This is probably yeah. So we created 3 calendar object, right? Okay, and then we create the data object, and we actually set all this calendar with a data object. So right now, all these calendars will have the same time. Okay, now we're actually setting a different time zone. So for calendar, we can call set time zone method to set the first one is UTC, and the second one, second calendar object will be set with the America Phoenix, and the third one is set with American New York. Okay, so when we display hour of the day from the calendar object, they will display different values. Okay, so this is again example of research. We are just making sure this is they are not the same. Okay, because they are using different zone. This is another example of using a search. I want to make sure my business logic satisfied this. Okay, and then we are going to convert into data object again. So data object does not have any locale information. So when we display all this, it will result in the same values as we have seen. So it returns the same values, right? Okay. Alright, so that is exercise 3. So I'm gonna give you guys about 15 minutes and let's have 30 minutes lunch time. So we will be back. Next topic is SimpleDateFormat class. So in many cases, you want to display your date information, date and time information in different format, right? Okay. So you can certainly create your custom format, but JDK comes with SimpleDateFormat class, which probably is sufficient for most applications. So it is a concrete class for formatting and parsing dates in locale sensitive manner. So it allows for formatting, meaning converting from date to text, and parsing from text to date, as well as normalization. Internally, SimpleDateFormat uses the calendar for all date calculations. So as we have seen before, when you're actually calling toString method of the date class, it's basically using internally, it's using calendar object internally. I think that's actually something we look into. So let's take a look at the lab exercise. So if you take a look at the lab exercise, So here we are going to display date information in many different formats. So let's run this guy, date format. And this is the result you are going to see. Okay, so let's take a look at the code. First, we get the data object first, right? And again, when we call toString method of data object, it will in fact convert it into calendar object and display. So that's why we get Saturday. So in this case, it's long time, the previous time point. So it actually give you locale information, and it should actually reflect your time zone. That's what I meant. Time zone, and it display in your locale. In my case, it's English, and obviously it should display the correct time for my time zone. Okay. The next thing we do is basically, I'm gonna actually use this guy, and the next one is we want to display date format is abstract class. Again, we haven't talked about the concept of abstract class yet. Okay, abstract class is actually parent class that you want to create the concrete class, just like a calendar class. So the concrete class is in this case a simple date format. So if you get the object instance, what you get back is in fact a simple date format object. Okay, so when we are using this, so we get the instance and it will return simple date format object, and then we call the format method and we pass the data object. Then what you're gonna get is like this. Okay, all right, and for that is for the get instance, and then we call get time instance. So this one is for the date and time, but we want to display just the time. So that is the number 3. So I actually kind of use the number to just kind of match what output you are looking at. And so you can call get instance, get time instance, and get date and time instance, and that's 4. So this is basically the same as something close to like this. Okay, so this one is actually using PM instead of 13. Okay, so now you can also actually say you can specify date format short, date format medium, date format long. So if you take a look at the short, this is the short version that is number 5, right? This is a short version, this is a medium version, and this is the long version. So if you take a look at the just format, it's basically using medium version as a default, seems like. And this one, we get the date and time. Again, we are displaying short. It should be. Okay. So so date format is short. This instance format. Oh, okay. So so this is for date, and this is for time. This is for date, and this is for time, and this is for date, and this is time. So you actually can mix it up, different formats for date and time. So that's what you are going to see here. Okay. All right. I'm going to continue the presentation property class, and then I'm going to let you guys have more time to do the exercise. So let me just finish up the presentation. Property class. Joda. Before we move on, let me just talk about the Joda time. Joda time is a very popular third-party library that provides quality replacement of Java date and time classes. Okay, so the people find Joda time is a lot more, let's say, useful in many situations. So it's very popular replacement of the Java version of this date and time classes. So it does support the multiple calendar systems, first of all, as a built-in, and it also provides simple API. And so default calendar is ISO 8601 standard, which is used by XML. So these are all, the Gregorian, Julian, Buddhist, Coptic, and Ethiopic, Islamic. All these calendars are kind of built in. Okay, so something to think about. Let's move on to properties class. So properties class, we have actually looked into properties class in our previous exercise when we were using system class, right? So property, but here you are going to use a properties class to just kind of have a key value pairs. Okay, so properties class represent persistent set of properties, and the properties are basically property is basically key value pair. Properties can be saved to a stream or loaded from a stream, meaning you can actually read properties from a file. You can write the properties to a file, and each key and its corresponding value in the property list is a string. Okay. Property list can contain another property list as its default, and the second property list is searched if the property key is not found in the original property list. Okay, so it can be changed. So we'll look into that. So here, this is an example where we so this is an example, in fact, we have seen in our previous exercise. We are reading my properties.txt file, which contains a couple of key value pairs, right? So we read into file's input stream object, and then we created a brand new properties object from system get properties object. So basically, this is the way that we load the system properties into our own properties object. Okay, so when you create a properties object, you can actually provide the initial values. Okay, and then we call load prop file. What it means is that at this point, the P up to line 27, P contains all the system properties, and you can actually call load method to add the additional properties from, in this case, the prop file. Okay. So as you have seen in our previous exercise, by number 29, we have both properties from the systems as well as from my properties.txt file. You can set the system properties. So if you call system.setProperties with the new properties file, then the system properties files are actually kind of updated with your own, right? Okay, and then display new properties. Yeah, so that's what we were able to see the result. Okay, so let's take a look at exercise 5. So here, properties demo. So in this case, we are going to, so when you run the application, you're going to see this, right? So if you take a look at the application, we created a new properties object. Okay, so this properties is a class, so we use a new keyword to create the properties. And the way you are going to add key value pairs is using put method. Okay, so I'm adding USA, DC, Korea, Seoul, France, Paris, Japan, Tokyo. Okay, and now if I want to get the key set, meaning USA, Korea, and France and Japan, so when you call the key set method, it's going to return just the collection of the keys. In this case, this USA, Korea, France, and Japan. Okay, and then we are using iterator class. Okay, to just iterate so basically we are from the countries. So this is a country value, and then from the you're basically called get property passing the key value of country like USA, and it will return DC. Okay, so that's what you're actually receiving. That's what you're seeing here. Okay. And now if you try to find the property of China, obviously we don't find in the properties, right? Because you haven't saved it. And the second argument is that when it is not found, this is the message that we want to return. Okay, so that is why we get the capital of China is not found. And the next one is properties demo 2. So this is something similar to what we have done in our previous exercise. Okay, so we get the my properties, which is again it should have. Let me see what it has. So this is the project is my properties demo 2. Properties demo 2, and you run it, and it actually has its own properties. So now if we take a look at this guy, properties demo 2, we have these properties, my properties, and we have 3 key value pairs: greeting, farewell, inquiry. So if you take a look at the result here, we should have a greeting. So let me just greeting. Yeah, so right here, greeting, hello. Okay, so this is the same exercise we have done in system properties exercise in previous presentation. So you can skip this guy if you want to. It's exactly the same. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna give you guys about 13 minutes to try this exercise 4 and 5.